Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the live podcast episode of Tell Your Story podcast, episode 3. So, my name is Kwanzaa Wyatt. Today, our guest will be Austin Kirkendall. Hopefully, I said his last name right. He'll be sharing his story on being physically abused a couple years back, and we'll be sharing his story and to also before we also dive into that, we have been also sent a graphic that me and him will react to. Let me introduce you to Austin. Austin, say hi.
Hello.
All right. I'm gonna share my. Before delving into the reaction, Austin, tell them a little bit about yourself, what you do, all that other stuff, and why you want to share your story on here.
Um, so to start off, I am a marketing major here at Eastern, communication minor. Um, it's a pretty broad question to ask. I was not prepared to explain about myself, but uh, I just, I like to play video games in my off time. I like to I'm in kind of a transition right now because I just found some stuff out medically, so I am transitioning into finding new ways to new hobbies, new this, new that.
Mhm.
um and yeah, I come from a good family of four. uh Really laid back home life. So yeah, marketing major. I work at um yeah. So I was definitely not prepared for this. So
It's all good. I'm going to be sharing my screen. We'll be looking at the graphics and stuff. So let
gotcha.
me see.
Gotcha.
All right. So this is my screen. All right. So the first graphic we'll be looking at is this. What this is talking about is consent, and showing the graph of consent is not. And these graphics were given to me by Sophie Peterson, who is awesome. With this, as you can see, this is referring to sexual assault. What you see is definitely the different situations of like people like giving of giving consent and stuff like that too. Austin, when you see this, do you, what do you think of this when you see this, and will it like hit home with a lot of people, especially with the difference in the different relationships and stuff like that?
Sure.
Sure.
If Yeah, if you share it, I can't see it.
Oh,
So,
you can't. Oh,
but I honestly think athletes and whoever the heck, if they do it, they get treated like everybody else because, the moment that somebody steps in a courtroom, that ain't gonna matter.
mm-hmm,
Like, that is not gonna matter. That is
mm-hmm.
not gonna matter.
For sure. With that said, we're going to transition into your story, sharing your story on this podcast. You can start whenever you're ready, Austin.
Alrighty. Alrighty. So, um, give me water real quick. So, before I start, I wanted to start off with a quote. The abuser's double life might look perfect. The person there at home compared to their public persona is a wicked change. Uh, this statement means everything to me, as my abuser had a double life. You may not see this picture perfect person as an abuser, but there is always more than meets the eye, like the iceberg picture.
Mm-hmm.
When this happened, after the fact, only a few had believed me, and that is because the abuser lived a double life.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so yeah, let's get into it. So, just to start off, my ex was really upset with me this morning because I had bumped into her and it messed up her drying nails. She was upset with me for that. I left the room for class because I was like, oh crap, I made somebody mad. I'm just gonna leave. She called me back and said, hey, can you come back? And in my head, I was like, okay, I forgot a water bottle, so might as well go back in. And like I went down to I went down to pick up the water bottle. And as I'm like bent down, way high, I get hit across the head with an open fist in the back of my head. I reacted by standing up and asking like what the problem was. For a day we argued because she didn't think she was in the wrong, and I did. And the following day, she broke up with me. After the breakup, I told her to be prepared to get into contact with authorities because yesterday was not right, and I tried to talk as much as I could to explain how that was not okay, but I felt like I just couldn't. And as I'm moving the stuff, like my stuff, out of her room, I walked down by like the third time round, and I saw one of DPS walking into the room. She called asking for a welfare check to try to get the jump on anything I had to report, which was because I mentioned it. So yeah, the school ended up moving me to Downing for a week because she was an RA and couldn't be moved. And since I was a student, and because they didn't really know exactly what happened, there were no witnesses around. So the police report came back and it said I was the victim, and she stated on the police report that she was standing behind me. She's standing behind me and she went to reach for me, and as I stood up, she tapped my head. And that tapped me, which I disagree with. The following week, I was given the option to move elsewhere or stay in Wise. And because of everything that happened, I chose to stay in Wise because I wanted to stand up to this person. I didn't want to run away from the situation, even though it was scary and even though I was terrified pretty much. I still did not want to run away and forget about it. And upon like my return to Wise, I felt stared at by the community. While I was gone for the week, I stayed in Downing. She had spread malicious rumors while I was staying in Downing. And when I had gotten back, it felt like I was looked at different. They moved her to Brown and Mudson to be an RA there. She was not fired, and disciplinary action was not taken. During this time as well, Title IX had reached out to me, and with everything going on, I could not like focus on school and focus on this and that. So, and I also heard that Melanie Warner did not listen to survivor stories, and after the experience, I just couldn't talk about it without reliving it, and I just wanted to get over it. I could not Yeah, I could not. Yeah. I had school to focus on and was not strong enough to continue, so I called it off. I said I didn't want to do it. Because in the beginning I asked, like, all right, like this happened to me, and they described the situation as well. We don't know if you or her is in the wrong, so we're going to talk. And I was very scared because if she already convinced the police that she tapped me instead of the other thing, I was very scared that another, there's going to be more lying and all this other stuff. So I just chose to not go with it. And to this day, Eastern is still covered up many acts, not just mine, many of abuse on their campus. And it's just tragic. It's really just stupid. So this has affected me tremendously, especially when meeting new people on campus. Normal people, maybe somebody I normally would be interested to talk to, get to know on campus, because I like to think of myself as a friendly person. I try to be. My first thought now is like how my story and like abuse and PTSD, I guess, I don't know, would affect somebody, because it's just very dark to go through something like that. Whether it be physical, sexual, it's just dark. And if you have not gone through it, it's a darkness that I feel almost like I'm putting baggage on somebody that I don't like. It's not their problem, it's my problem. And I feel like if I'm the only one in this darkness, then nobody will have to feel the way I felt, because I don't want nobody to feel like that. These events have made it even scarier to get close to anybody. I have a hard time reaching out and trying to form close. I just kind of would like somebody to get close with me, because it's terrifying for me to get close with anybody now. These events have made it scary to get close to someone before, because when you see what a person can be capable of in that regard, I guess it's really just like, dang, like if this person can do it, then this person can, and if that person can, then that person can, and if that person can, then everybody can. When in reality, the next person is a sweetheart, and the next person is another sweetheart, and it's really just all in my head, but or under the iceberg that people don't see, that is really just scary, and a lot of times, like, I'll like not say the wrong thing, but I'm so scared of like messing up that I'll say the wrong thing just to make sure that the relationship doesn't work. Almost I'll self-sabotage it on purpose, because I don't want to get to that point. I don't want to get so close to lose something, or I don't know. I don't know. And to this day, I shy away from asking like deep questions. Like if I see, if somebody makes a comment that is like, okay, I could ask a question about that, I just don't. Because, not nobody, but most don't really do that to me. So I just kind of treat people the way they treat me or stuff. And not only that, but like getting to know someone's hard too, because I lose interest like fast, because it's almost like like one small switch and I just feel threatened or scared again. And it's not anybody's fault. It's nobody's fault. But that's the hard part, is everybody either views it as their fault, or the people that don't want it to be their fault make it your fault, and they kind of like flip the table on you. Um, and not only I'd say the worst is maintaining a relationship, because like I said, I've seen the worst outcome. So, and I just, like I said, fear it ever happening again. Definitely pushes me away from friendships. As I have a hard time like staying happy due to the fact that, and being the happy-go-lucky guy I used to be. Because like it just seems like everything is so serious now. Like people try to joke with me, and it's really hard because I don't really like it. It sucks because I wish I could take a joke like I used to, but I can't. Everything is just so serious, like because I never know now who is actually making a joke or if they're just saying it to be mean. And not only that, but if it's gonna progress into something else, because I mean, some jokes can be taken offensively, and if it's taken offensively, it could be seen as like, not emotional abuse directly, but an abusive thing. And well, if a joke's abusive, then that's just square one. And if you allow that, then you allow the person to think that it's okay to do the next thing. And then by the time you know it, you're in it, and you don't even know how to get out, because it's been a slow thing. And that's why it sucks. It sucks.
Yeah. So again, as a guy, how hard was it to even report this incident? Because I imagine you're just probably thinking in your head, like, oh man, like people probably won't believe me because I'm a guy and stuff. And like, how was that whole entire experience for you, and having to deal with that, having to report, all these things and stuff?
Well, obviously it's very scary, because the moment that you claim something, you fear retaliation. Because it's, or not, but because it's just very scary to fear retaliation, because if the other person, like I said, lies and says something else, it's like, oh my gosh, like you're now on the opposite end of what you were trying to speak up about. Not only that, but like I firmly believe that, I mean, the definition of, well, not the definition, but in like aggravated assault or non-aggravated assault or things of that nature does not include male or female or non-binary, any gender specification. It's a single word of consent.
Yeah.
And if nobody wants to be touched, you don't touch them. Like,
very simple.
Yes, very simple. Now, obviously, I did not wake up that day and say, hey, don't hit me over the head, and then all of a sudden, bam. But I just think that, the fact that people can objectively look at it as male or female is just like ignorant is all get out. So ignorant. And if not only that, but it's naive, because you're being naive about the situation because you're missing the facts over your opinion. So you're selectively choosing to be naive rather than, believe story. Thankfully, I did have support from a few officers that, you know, were like, you know, it happens, you know, to everybody, not just if you're male or female. It happens to everybody. It's just, I definitely know that, you know, they definitely, like, males are looked at as like, oh, be strong, be this, be that, bottle it up. You know, uh why are you complaining, you
Crying,
know? Why
yeah,
are you crying about
like,
it? And
yeah, just
uh
showing feminine qualities that
sure,
demasculine us,
sure.
Def- definitely.
Exactly. And not only that, but like like I said, it's just one word, is consent, and that consent does not involve female, male, non-binary, or whatever. You know, we're
Mhm,
whatever you so choose to be. That does not, and that is not the definition of consent. You know,
mhm,
no certain gender owns that word or doesn't own, or, you
mhm,
know, is more believable in a sense. It's just, you know, and not only that, but I was really just like really scared for future people, I guess. Like,
mhm,
I was like me, I,
mhm,
yes, it affects me. It's scary. Um, it's very scary to me. But I was, like I said, I try to put that away because I want to fix the problem itself. And
mhm,
that is like thinking hitting somebody's okay. Like,
mhm.
you know, it's just, yeah,
Not,
not even
yeah.
hitting, but
Mhm,
just touching of any kind. Um,
mhm,
it's always best to ask,
mhm.
you know.
Oh, yeah. And so, with that said, what is your biggest hope, and what do you want to see change within like the next 5 years in terms of like the idea of like consent, males being physically abused and stuff like that? Like, what would you like to see happen? Whether it's a change of ideas, a change of policy, or what have you? Like, what do you hope for and want to happen?
Um, well, as far as like, could you repeat that, please?
So,
You
yeah.
kind of asked like three questions there,
Yeah, sorry.
but
Yeah, I'll start with the first one. So, first one is, what is your hope for the next 5 years?
um, well, I hope people start looking more into the iceberg. I understand that there are, uh, you know, people that have either been through the same or under the same umbrella of abuse
Mm-hmm.
that just don't want people to ask, don't want people to talk about it, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. That's okay, but some people have a hard time even talking about it in general.
Mm-hmm.
And because for me, I just, every time I talk about it, it's like I relive it. It's very
Mm-hmm.
vivid. It happened 3 years ago. Um, and it's still like clear as day to me, what
Mm-hmm.
happened and everything. So I personally like it, it's, I don't want to think about it, but it's good for me to talk about it. So
Yeah.
if somebody is like, you know, more direct and more, you know, directness, I
Mm-hmm.
guess like what I would hope to see is just people being more open and hearing and listening
Mm-hmm.
about it, instead of looking at it as like, oh, this person's quiet, so I'm just not going to bother them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that person is going through something that you have no idea about, and maybe, you know, you could be the person that changes their day.
Mm-hmm.
um you know, all of a sudden the person's not sitting in the corner anymore and they're out right next to you and they're happy, you know, you,
Mm-hmm.
because some people just lose that bridge
Yeah.
to, you know, be able to express it or talk about it. And so,
Yeah.
next question.
The next question then is, so what would you like to see change happen within our community? Because we are a part of the same community, and like the policies that are put in place when it is in regards to reporting and stuff. Whether you have searched up the policies or not, I don't know.
I don't know really public, like, I mean, besides laws and stuff, of course, but, you know, I would like to see more people in the community, like, not shy away from mental illness, check on people more.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big one, is check on people more.
Yeah.
Not just check on the people that are okay and that are already happy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I definitely would want to see more mental health awareness for sure, because it, we're in a, like, I know, for instance, when I first got in the community, I tried to message a couple people and got no answers back, and it was not no answers back, but it's just rough because, like, you try to reach out, and because, like, a lot of the people that I've known around, the colleges community is either commuting, gone, or whatever. So, the small community that we're in, I look at, because if anybody reached out to me, I would try my best to be there for them, talk to them, hear them out, listen, maybe even relate. Obviously not to 100%, but, if you're not the only one, knowing that somebody is by your side that has, experienced darkness, it's a pretty powerful thing, and a lot of people don't talk about it as much, and it's sad because it's real stuff that goes on. You know, it's like Hollywood, like,
Yeah.
nobody really talks about this stuff in Hollywood either. So,
Yeah. So definitely like more awareness and more like activism from the community, especially since like there's change that really does need to happen, but it's a community effort at this point too.
yeah.
So it's rough, especially like being at this point now, where like this is like the third episode, starting this up.
Sure.
It is definitely hard and it can be very lonely. But there are people that are there and wants to support and do all these things too. But there's also like that like standpoint is like people are busy, people are focused on like their one only little life thing. Like also too like we're connected with so much stuff today, and like can only handle so much at a time too. So I think it's like I think it's just really is about figuring out how to make people care effectively, and how they can help be a part of that. Be a part of that
Well,
change.
one thing that I've noticed is, I think a lot of people don't know how to support.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
I know.
why, like, I think people just don't know how,
Yeah.
and they're afraid to admit it. And honestly, if somebody came up to me and was like, I don't know how to support this, but I'm here, that's a lot. That's like means a lot more than just thinking it to yourself and walking
So
away.
yeah,
Um,
like
because
yeah.
thinking that you acknowledge it is not doing it, unfortunately. And so, yeah, I definitely think, like, knowing how to support is a big thing, because of the fact that, um, we all have our different coping mechanisms. We all have our different ways to cope. We all react differently. Nobody wants to go up to somebody that's having a bad day and get yelled at, of course,
Mm-hmm.
or make something worse or anything. But
Yeah.
I do think, though, that if you don't even know, if you go up to somebody and somebody gives you like a negative response, well,
Mm-hmm.
that's your way of knowing that that person is probably not the best. You know what I mean? You might want to wait or something like
Mm-hmm.
that, but uh the excuse of not even trying is hard. And it's not, and like I said, it's really hard for me because it's hard for me to even support too,
Mm-hmm.
honestly. It's hard for me to support because you know, everybody just wants to make somebody feel better, right? That's the end goal.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end goal, is just make somebody feel better. But a lot of people don't realize is like things like abuse and trauma, they can't be fixed.
Yeah.
So that's why I say support,
Mm-hmm.
because it's definitely very important. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think that there needs to be like a mental health push or
Mm-hmm.
mental health awareness, or uh you know just like we're a community, like we shouldn't be afraid of each other.
Mm-hmm.
um should not, but I understand that um with my abuse story, being afraid of said person, and if somebody else is in the community that was abused or abusive, I understand that that's impossible
Mm-hmm.
like to be like that, because personally for me, I cannot be in the same space room anytime. Like, I've even seen people look like my
Mm-hmm.
abuser, and it just is like like, oh my
Mm-hmm.
god. um
Mm-hmm.
and so
So,
what I have a question for you. What ideas would you may have for um improvement, I guess, or something like that?
well, I mean, for starters, this podcast, because I,
Sure.
again, it is that definitely that question of like, how can I help with your support? So this is definitely the version of that. But also, just want to, one of my things I want to do, which I still want to do, is a 5K to bring awareness to sexual assault and stuff, and really have it be like a year-round thing for people to be a part of too, especially in our own community too, because I feel like no one really has done that, and there hasn't been anything like that before. In terms of like, we do have like the color run that they do at Ypsilanti for Pride Month, but never any of the sense of like building a 5K for sexual assault awareness and having that be a continuous thing. Where like, now that these things have happened, you want this to still be in people's minds, no matter how long it takes. Especially because like at the end of the day, like this is a very big and pervasive issue that affects everyone. Not only that too, just hearing your like story of like being physically abused and stuff like that, like creating like again like space, whether it's like a shelter or like maybe even like find some sort of way for people to make the most meaningful change too. Because I feel like everyone wants to make meaningful change. I think it's just the fact that no one knows how to necessarily
How to do
methodology
it?
to do
Yeah.
that. Yeah, yeah. So
um
it's a
I
very like roundabout thing, but yeah.
I haven't. I thought of an idea on the spot. I remember going to this thing a couple years ago. I want to say it was like probably right after everything happened, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, it was like a poetry slam thing. But
Oh, okay.
because I'll be honest, 5K is awesome to me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd have to prepare for that. And
Mm-hmm.
for me personally, there, everybody, like I said, has their different ways of coping. Some people just go work it out.
Mm-hmm.
I try to write it out. And some people, that is their way of coping, is just writing out their feelings, maybe putting it in a poem style, and maybe having a community night poetry slam or something, for people to have a safe space to let what they're going through out. It could even just be a bad day, a bad week, because one thing that I know is just that it's good to talk about it. It's good to talk about it, and it's good to get things out and let things out. And and I want to. The biggest thing for me is because I personally don't feel safe. Like, that is my biggest goal for everybody I come into contact with, I come encountered with, I meet, whatever. I want them to feel safe in a way that I would want to feel safe. And, obviously I can't be everyone's safe place, but I try to, make a standard of somebody being a safe place for people to contact about things like that. Obviously, not a therapist either, so I don't have credentials to do a lot, but a lot of people, especially for me, I don't feel comfortable talking to therapists because I don't know them. I don't really know them on a personal level like that, so it's very like pushback for me. So if it's somebody within the community that you kind of have an idea of, I would feel more closer reaching out to that person rather than like that. I don't know, it's just, to me, because I don't really like to talk about it in the first place. So I don't like to go through the whole role of going somewhere, getting in an office, and it's just all a lot of stimuli. But yeah, my biggest goal, which I know a lot of people around me share too, especially you too, Q, that we just, especially me, been through abuse, like, want to make this the safest possible place. And I don't even want to start, but I would definitely be the forefront if I would love to be the forefront. Obviously, I don't, always grieve, or not grieve, but want that position. But I would love to be a part of anybody that has been through or going through or something, because, well, I didn't have anybody around me when I was going through said things. So, and if that seems to, like it's not my business, that's fine. It's not my business. All right. But, I'm just putting it on the table that, there's somebody here that understands and is here to help. So
Definitely. So before we go, do you have any last questions or comments or concerns before ending the stream? Whether it's a quote to a person, whether it's a word of affirmation, or even what you're gonna do. What's the next couple things you're gonna do? What would you like to say to end off this stream, this podcast?
I was just gonna say that, really, I mean, that's a good. Obviously, hitting people's not okay. Touching of any kind is unconsented. Is not okay. Because I definitely have yelled at people that, even, it doesn't matter if you're a guy or a girl. If you're even a guy, and and I know that you're not trying to, if even if you touch me, it's get your hands off me. I don't like being touched. Okay, unless it's consented to, all this stuff, but because it's a trigger. You know, it's very triggering because it's like it just kind of is like whoa, and it puts you back in that like hyper focused state of or hyper vigilant state of you know, yeah. And then not only that, but I guess like if you know anybody that has um gone through something or not, it doesn't even have to be really abuse, it's just check up on people. uh, Check up on people. uh Check up on people and never be afraid to speak up, because you know, even though terrible things happen and this or that, speaking up, don't matter if you feel guilty or not. Speaking up is important because then something could possibly be done about it, or even just getting it off your chest, letting it out. um, but I guess the biggest thing that I have to really say though is that, you know, if you notice like any like not abusive behavior, but just behavior that isn't the stereotypical cool, laissez-faire, laid-back person, like, you know, you could still be friends. You could still talk to them. They're not different. They've just been through something. And, you know, um, yeah, that's really all I got to say is that, you know, that I guess there's more than meets the eye. Yeah. Do you have any ending questions, Q?
No. I mean, the only ending thing I will say is that guys would like to get bracelets. Go check out the lovebracelet.org and use the code Quanzelle_Wyatt. That's QUANZELLE _WYATT. Now allows you to get 35% off of their products plus free US shipping. So what is the Love Bracelet? They are a corporation that design bracelets and different sort of products, including hoodies and stuff. But also, what's so great about them is that they also are with each product help raise awareness on domestic violence. And also with this code, I do not get any of the proceeds at all or any cut or anything. This is completely free
No
collaboration.
affiliation.
No
No
affiliation
affiliation.
whatsoever. No affiliation. So you're hearing a very broke podcaster right now. so
Q, Q,
so
Q,
again,
Q, Q.
so you go to the lovebracelet.org and again use the code Quanzo_Y to get 35% off products plus free US shipping. So with that said, do you have any last things to say, Austin? Any more last things to say before ending this?
I do have one thing, yes.
Yes.
For me as a person to take things seriously, jokes, whatever, that doesn't mean necessarily like don't joke with me, or if you have something funny to talk about, don't do that. That just means that I have a hard time understanding it. And it's been like I have not been like introduced or exposed enough to it to feel comfortable about it rather than hyper vigilant about it.
Yeah.
So I guess if you or anybody has a friend, family member that does get serious, you know, just try to explain it's not you. It's not you. Try to like, you know, and not only that, but you know, make another joke, like not like that, but you know, try to like reinforce the fact that you're not being, you know,
Yeah.
so the
Of course.
person can get used to it.
Yeah, offensive with your jokes and stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Not only that,
Very,
but just this goes for everything. Like if you get like, you know, negative reaction, that's not your cue to quit on somebody. That's your cue to, you know,
redirect.
maybe change it, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyways, but
But
yes.
yes, with that said, guys, you hear it all from talking about sexual assault awareness, what consent means, to physical abuse, sharing a story, and to end it all being considerate of telling very maybe not so great jokes and understanding that people might not like your jokes and maybe it's a time for a different joke. You never know. But that said, thank you guys for watching, and if you're listening, listen on Spotify. That's where you can also listen to this podcast as well. We also have a Patreon page with the same name too. So there are a couple previous episodes in case you missed it, as well as Austin's own personal detailed story too. So if you'd like to check that out, please go to the Patreon page. It'd be $3 a month to help support the channel, so that way we can again get more bigger, better stuff, and hopefully get a lot more cool stuff. So with that said, hope you guys have a good day. Austin, say bye.
Adios, and thank you all for listening. I really appreciate it. Don't be afraid to ask questions if after you see this and you're like, oh my God, like, I never knew you went through that. Well, yeah, I mean, I invite anybody who wants to talk about it, who wants to ask questions or anything like that. So yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, everyone have a good rest of your day.